Mesa Graduate Valley School Board meeting to order. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, changes or additions to the agenda. And we have one item change, which will be 5C, which will be Russ Hickman's resignation as basketball coach, girls basketball coach. So, also I want to mention that Chuck Hendrickson is here by Skype, correct? Okay, so he's actually out of town, but he's actually going to be listening and voting by way of Skype. So, there he is. He's in Texas visiting his grandchildren. Okay, so at this time I would entertain a motion for consent agenda, please.
I move the board approve the consent agenda as presented and modified.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. All right, item 5A. This is personnel. Hiring, is it Catherine? Katie, I know her as Katie. Alstrom as paraeducator.
I move to approve the hiring of Katie Alstrom, paraeducator.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? No discussion?
What is her, what's her assignment? What are you anticipating utilizing?
Kindergarten mornings, reading program. Laugh, right? Laugh program.
Further discussion? No further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. 5B, accept resignation of John Tinhara.
I move the board accept the resignation of John Tinhara effective June 30th, 2014.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Discussion.
I just want to thank John for the 13 years since he has been here and given to the district and that's a success in their new venture.
I probably know John probably as well as almost anybody. I coached him when he was in high school. John was quite a go-getter on the basketball court, I'll tell you that. We had a very successful JV team. John was a big part of that. And I think that just was kind of the start of the way he attacks just about every project, as far as I know, that he does. He sort of just really goes after it. So I'm really proud of what you've done for the district, and I wish you the best luck in the next job.
I would also like to thank you, John, and wish you continued success. As you well know, I have an added interest in the facilities here, and there were several occasions where you were part of that. I'm not sure who was in charge of that big roller you were on that day, but you know, that roller made that track what it is, and I appreciate the fact that you contributed to that. I hope you continue to do that in your life. Thank you.
Thanks. Further discussion on that? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item 5C, accept resignation of Russ Hickman.
I move the board accept the resignation of Russ Hickman as the head girls basketball coach.
I'll second.
Discussion. It's a voluntary resignation, I assume. No discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, public comment. We have three. First one is Deanna Jovik, board agenda.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a suggestion for future board agendas that, like items 5 and 7, where you have the line items, saying what it is, that you do that for the staff presentations, because it's knowledgeable and was scheduled, obviously they're here to come, but when I checked the agenda, there was nothing mentioned about knowledgeable, and it would have been really helpful had I known that, rather than sending messages and making phone calls. And also, I believe the teachers that are presenting, whoever, it'd be nice for the community to get a heads up so they can plan to say, oh yeah, we'll come, because what a great way to learn about programs that they may have questions about, or that they might agree with, or they might not agree with. So I don't know why that was changed. I know in the past we used to do it that way, so I would like to recommend that the board adopt that.
Thank you. Okay, Alan Lebowitz.
Hi, thank you. I'd like to echo that sentiment too. I think that's a really great idea. It helps folks who have busy schedules plan their agenda to hear if there is something important on the agenda. So I like that idea a lot. I also wanted to, on the same note, suggest that if it was possible to sort of amp up the videotaping and presentation of the board meetings. Buddy had started that a while back. I think that was a great idea. There's a lot of folks that can't always make board meetings, and it's nice to be able to check in and see what you missed. But one thing I found that's difficult is actually hearing what's being said at times. You're doing a great job with what you got there, but the sound quality is not so great. What I was wondering is if the board or the school district could actually take on the responsibility possibly too of just videotaping and presenting the board meetings online someplace for people to catch up on.
Would you like me to address that at all? Or?
If you can, yeah.
Well, actually, legal advice advises a school district not to
Really?
videotape. It just opens up the district to all sorts of liabilities. As far as Buddy doing it and putting that out there, that's perfectly fine. But that's basically what the school district is advised not to do, is the reason why. The other thing too is I believe that the district has to keep a record of those for, how many years, Steve?
I think electronics 1 year.
1 year electronics. So then it creates a situation where, okay, so now you have to have a place to keep it. You also have to have somebody that is in charge of that, which is not impossible. It's just that one more duty of an administrator probably.
Okay, do I get to weigh in on that, Mr. Chairman?
Absolutely.
Because I share your position. I think the audio taping is an excellent tool for the community. And the board has not had that conversation, but I think we're going to. And it'll be a board decision, however it shakes out. But I think there is interest on this board to see that happen.
Great, thanks.
But again, that's not a promise.
Right.
Because a lot of times the board has to take advisement from the legal attorney. Others,
Got it.
sometimes we want to do things. It doesn't necessarily mean that we can just do those sorts of things and put the school in a liability situation that it's not advisable. So there definitely will be a discussion. Okay, Rudy.
I'm going to stand over here away from the cameras and maybe a few of the audience can see me too. I'm Rudy Rudolph, and I'm the Teachers Union President. And been on and off for a few years, but I'm going to talk tonight about CBA. It's funding happened, there's been some funding changes in the last go-around of the legislature, so it's going to bring in less money to the district, and the district's going to have to make some decisions about CBA in the coming months, and so I thought I'd put my 2 cents in early. CBA is possibly looking at, we're possibly looking at reducing CBA from 4.2 teaching staff to 2 or maybe even none. And so that means the district's going to be going through a possible reduction of force or laying off some staff members. And I'd like to encourage the district, like they did in the past before the recession, to try to work things out so that we don't have to go down that road of having a RIF. That can be done several different ways. First off, we've got several staff members who are on leave of absence. I would suggest to the board that they continue to allow those leave of absences be extended. And that would possibly give us more time for someone to retire. Second, CBA has served thousands of students. It has kept 5 staff members employed. It's also brought in a lot of dollars into the district, and I don't have figures on that, but I assume it's thousands of dollars extra over than what it was budgeted for. And it was a risk when it was first started for the district, and I think it's worth a risk for us to continue it in some shape or form, either in the same form that it's in, or having 2 staff members do a K-8, but to lose it all, I think, would be premature. Because things might be able to be budgeted out. And then finally, to make things all work, I know the district has the need to put people in highly qualified positions. I would suggest that the district shuffle staff around to make that happen. And this would, by having CBA open, brings more staff members, families into our district, which in turn means possibly more kids into our district, more dollars into our economy here, and I think it's been a win-win. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that ahead of time.
All right, so there's no further community input. All right, 7, unfinished business, there is none. There is one. Actually, there's 3. Okay, so item 7A is ratify superintendent's contract.
I move the board ratify the agreement with Lisa Nelson for superintendent beginning July 1st, 2014. I second that.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I think we need to do a
Roll call.
on this.
Okay, we're gonna back up. We're gonna take a roll call vote. Steve?
Aye.
Josh?
Aye.
And Chuck, hear me?
Yes, I hear you. I'll vote aye.
Okay, Buddy?
Aye.
I vote aye. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Steve. Okay, item B, Lion Park batting cage.
Oh, okay. In the ceiling, Randy, I saw Randy. If I move down, your little diagram's gonna go like that. Before he starts, I just want to scroll down and pull something out here. So he's going to talk about the layout of the batting cage over at Lions Club Park, and this is the tennis court. Down here, post office. Give you a little schematic, and then at the west end essentially of the slab, right? Batting cage, take it away.
Very professional, I know.
It's good.
Wasn't my strongest suit. I don't know if there's any questions, but it's just going to run parallel basically to where the outdoor cage was. well, is still now. We take the net down, so it doesn't, you can't see anything now. But it's basically just parallel, just inside the fence line, where that is. And the permits at the county, so it sounds like everything's rolling in the right direction. They just gotta put their stamp on it, they got their money. So it'll just be a matter of, when we get that back, getting the order through Parker building and start working on it. So everybody, whoever wants to help out, get your belts ready, get your hammer.
Have my own tool belt, so I'm
Yeah,
ready.
it looks like probably, if I had to guess, it'd be month and a half that we'll start construction. So, weekend warriors, beware.
Is that going on existing slab concrete there?
It's on asphalt,
It's on asphalt.
yeah. So we have to pour concrete for the poles.
I see.
What size did you end up with?
That's 84 by 30, same size as the one that's here now.
I actually have several questions. It's all right.
Fire away.
The first one is access, control, and security.
Right? I think we addressed that early on, and it was going to be same as it is here now. Basically, you're okay for a code or a key, but a code seems to work best so that we can't copy, duplicate, and lose, and then you don't know who has it. So say code access. As far as security goes, possibly just putting up a light there, and then maybe a camera for something just to keep the kids, the honest kids honest, you know, so that nobody's over there hitting them with bats and spray painting in the middle of the night.
Okay, well, don't take this personally, Randy, because I think they're questions that should have been asked 6 months ago. Okay, so I'm just concerned from a school standpoint about, that is school property.
Right,
It will be school property once it's built.
it is still.
And
right,
and so how, let's say someone wants to use that facility, how does that happen?
There'll be open batting cage nights set up, similar to what we do here now. So let's say for example, you're a coach. You're able to have open batting cage nights, and it'll be same thing advertised through the school here. Say Mondays and Wednesdays is your night, Tuesdays and Thursdays is my night. Maybe Becca wants to have Fridays. So we'll have nights set up specifically from say 7 to 8 or 6 to 8 or whatever you want to do. And you sit down there and have a cup of coffee and wait for the kids to show up. Just
Okay,
like they do open.
My only concern with that issue is that we don't end up with a big conflict with someone that felt they didn't get their right to use it. And I just encourage you, and you probably have, to work through the superintendent's office in Maryland and make sure all of that works smoothly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I do have some questions about the construction aspects.
Okay.
I intended to go down and look at the facility today, and I didn't get there. But as I recall, there's tall chain link fence all around that court.
Right.
Okay, and as I remember, there's just one narrow man gate to get into it.
Yes.
Okay, and you've got probably a concrete truck that needs to get in there and building materials. So,
Sure.
So how are you intending to go about that?
We're going to unhook the fence and roll it back, remove a couple poles for access, and then you'll be able to pull in right there and bring materials in and crew in and trucks in and to get the work done. And then once it's all done, button it back up.
Restore it all back?
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Okay. All right.
And I think as far as, it's not going to be any different than open gym night, as far as that's, it's open gym. Everybody knows Sunday nights at 7 and Thursday's kids night. It'll be the same as that. Everybody will sign up and there'll be a certain time for people to come use it.
All right.
Are the tennis courts,
Very much appreciate what you're doing there.
Oh, yeah, that's what.
Thank you.
are the tennis courts even being used anymore?
No, there's a couple sinkholes that are like, one's on the one end of it, it won't affect the building site, but it's been there forever. And so they kind of just went downhill and nobody's maintained them. I mean, the last time I've seen somebody play tennis there has been years. So they're in pretty bad shape. Matter of fact, I think the one towards the post office is the only one that's actually got a net strung between it. The other one's kind of just gone. Kids hang on them.
I was just curious, when you're talking about restoring it after you take the fence down, does it even make any sense to put it back up?
Oh, put the fence back in? I think maybe just for a security standpoint, you know, I mean, it just kind of deters people a little bit. They gotta go all the way around and through the gate to get in. I mean, other than that, you'd be able to just walk right up to it. I don't know if that's gonna, if you've been in the history down there, it gets tore up. The kids, whoever at night goes down there and they just vandalize things, hang on things, and so.
I was just thinking in terms it might be, I mean, it gets pretty crowded for parking. You know, if that could be utilized for parking, if it's no longer.
Oh, for that space? Yeah, it could be done,
Facilities
like,
type of thing.
sure.
So, Randy, the only question I have is what about equipment inside the building?
Just kind of the same thing as what we're doing up here right now. A lot of the material for the interior will be donated via fishermen or people. There's several people in the community that have mills, sawmills, so we can get the lumber donated and the netting donated, and all the labor is going to be donated, obviously, but just kind of just piece it together.
What about, are you gonna need a pitching machine, and what's your thoughts on that?
Right here.
You're the machine?
We'll just go like coach pitch type deal for now. If in the future, if we can afford a pitch machine, cool. If not, we'll, from what I found, Throwing's better right now. So.
There's a mean slider. You said you have a mean slider.
Yeah, that's right. Mean slider.
Okay. Any further questions on that? Okay, that's just an update anyway, so, all right, so we'll move on to item C, WIAA update. Now, are you looking at me for this?
Yes.
Are you looking at me?
I'm looking at you and Chuck over there. Just if you want to add anything from the meeting, the present, it's been a while ago.
Gee whiz. Let's go. Wonderful, seriously. Well, yeah, as I remember, we had quite a few questions for Mr. Hickman as far as whether we should think about being independent or joining the league. The league would be, what is that league called? It's the, basically the Vancouver League, I guess, or whatever. It was decided that it would be best to be independent for various reasons. Going into the meeting, I was basically thinking it would be better to be in a league. Russ had some very good points why it would probably be better to be independent. My thinking was that there's no clear-cut path into the district tournament as an independent. Basically, you play your season, and then the way I understand it, Rich Frazier, who is the head of District 4, by head-to-head competitions and whatever, decides who's number 1 seed, who's number 2, and so on. It's worked pretty well in the past. They've had no conflicts. Nobody's had any problems with it. So apparently they get it, pretty good. So I was comfortable with that. I think Chuck was pretty comfortable with that. So we decided at that point that the recommendation would be from Chuck and I to go independent. Correct, Chuck?
Yeah, that's the right bottom line, Bob.
Okay. Anything else you can add to that?
Scheduling away.
Any questions on that? No? Really?
Can I ask a question? Does it mean you're in a league? Will you still play the same basketball teams and play the same football teams?
No.
No.
No, we're basically independent. There is an independent leagues, and we'll play, what I understand is we'll play a lot of those teams, but it also affords us the ability to play a lot of close schools such as Ilwaco, Warrenton, I think Neocani, I imagine Napa, Seaside. With football, I mean, you're pretty much, you're only going to be able to play certain schools anyway. So it doesn't really affect that much. Basketball is the one that it really affects, is because there's many more schools that have basketball than what we have, there are 8-man football around here. So I think they're kind of pretty much locked into playing, a certain number of schools in football. Anything to that? Anything else? And if Mr. Hickman was here, I'm sure he would have a lot more information.
It's quite a ways into the scheduling, I know that. We just need one more football game to have a schedule.
And I must say, Russ has put a lot of work into this. This has been quite a task, so he needs to be applauded for his efforts. He put a lot of time into, he went to a lot of different schools, like towards Vancouver and Longview and such, trying to figure out, looking at facilities. Facilities was a big thing with the private schools. In a lot of cases, they play in an auditorium, basically. And so, I think that he felt that really wasn't the best facility for this, to be playing in also. And actually, being independent is not going to be too bad. I mean, we'll play a lot of the schools that we used to prior to being 1B, 2B. I mean, we used to play Quinault, Oakville, and Wishkah, Mary Knight, and these schools. And we'll play these schools now, which are basically our own size right now, as far as enrollment. Okay, so new business. Through security locks, door cameras, K-12 building.
I move the board approve the purchase of additional security locks and door cameras for the K-12 building not to exceed $25,000.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion?
I just might want to add, because we have a lot of different people that weren't here when this grant was actually approved. This is a grant from the Templin Foundation for up to $25,000 for security upgrades. This is basically the second phase of the upgrade. Over the summer, additional cameras were put in and or replaced. And so this is kind of part 2 of the general plan, and this is grant funded through the Templin Foundation. So it doesn't really come out of district budget.
Can we use any of those funds for the new baseball cage?
Possibly, it's up to $25,000.
Possibly a camera or something.
That's why I asked for more than it cost. Because I'm learning a little bit.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, business office report.
All right, so we ended the month of January with just under $500,000 in reserve. I might add, just as I indicated in January, that was after the state reclaimed the erroneous timber money from last August. So, conservative budgeting, that's why it actually went up rather than down. So, that is January. Enrollment actually dropped just a little bit in February and January. We're at 511 total. That includes the CBA kids. However, if you compare it to September, our local school is down about 3 students, but CBA is up 76 or so. So tends to balance out very well in that regard. Legislature is now into their they're in their 37th or 38th day of the CBA session, so they're going to be wrapping up. Not really any news in the legislature. There's talks of backdoor deals going around, but we won't know until the budget is signed. So that's that. High school report. Last Wednesday we met with the high school staff and talked about several things, but one of the things that we're looking at is first semester grades and academics. I compiled a lot of information about the grade distributions of the 9th through 12th students, various class sizes, things like that. And we found some interesting trends. So we're working on that, and actually I'll have that report to give to you next month to get it in advance so you can study it and kind of some interesting information on there and some things that we're going to be thinking about as programs will continue. And that's about it. CBA report, things are plugging along. Enrollment just closed for second semester, and we did pick up several new students. However, when you balance out kids that left, there was not really a net increase. So we're holding right there, somewhere around 242, 243 FTE in the CBA program.
Lisa, could you put the budget document back up on the screen for me? And can you scroll down to the ending fund balance? No,
Are you talking about what you asked me about?
yours is different than what we got.
I know, I hit something, and it was like 29,000.
Okay.
And I thought it was, he had to put the, we don't know the next month's enrollment yet, and we we're looking at it, I said, did you write this, or did I elbow this, or something? And he got his original
That was
out.
just a test receipt.
Yeah,
It was just a technical glitch that caused that to happen.
yeah, I saw that too.
I was able to kind of go through the report, kind of figure out what had happened there, but.
What happens, that's an auto sum, and it's an Excel file. And so
Okay.
if you hit anything on that, you can blank it out. So,
Any chance you can put more money in there?
I can put it in there.
Because it's easy.
I did something, because that.
Are you looking at the blue
29,000
number? Way down in the corner?
If you look at what I sent you, yeah, it's like 29,000. And I thought it was because we didn't have the enrollment plugged in, but it's really my mistake, because it didn't match what he gave me.
It was just the general fund balance beginning was missing.
Put us in a little bit of, it's
We are,
all
we are a little ahead of 20,000.
Quite ahead.
Okay.
Yeah. Half a million.
Couple of things. Last quarter, second quarter, the middle school students were competing, and actually this was a choice. The middle school group has decided to work on increasing reading achievement, and because they want kids to want to read, and so they offered an incentive of a pizza party. We want something that the kids want. And we had 26 kids who met the goal. The goal that was determined by the teachers was 15. And what you do is you read a book at your grade level, and then you take a test on it. And depending on the level of the book, so say a 7th grade level book that might be 250 pages, may be worth 3 points. But if you read a 4th grade level book that's in 30 pages, that's 1 point, and we want kids to read at their level. So we had 26 kids who actually met the 15-point goal. And interestingly, amongst some of those, there were students who reached up to 100 points with reading books at their level, 7th and 8th grade level. So we sat down again last week and decided that now they're going to have the students develop individual goals, which goes along with the TPEC, where they want students to develop goals. So they're going to sit down with the students and have them develop reading goals for themselves to try to improve the reading. And this is teachers in the entire elementary, so we're talking about science teachers. So Scott Smith, Rob Dalton, Brian Macy is the math teacher, Diane Bennett, Brother Swanson, Lori Dewmore. So they're all working together to try to help kids to increase their reading, so that when they get up into the high school, they'll be able to read more of the informational text. Once you get them interested in their pleasure reading, which they're really pushing more as the business world has requested that they learn to read more informational text. So we're looking at 30-70% by the time they're in high school. So we're trying to increase that. The elocution was last Thursday, was postponed from the week before, and it was great. We had 23 presentations between grades 1 and 8. They were awesome, and maybe if Josh would like to bring son's video. The kids, it was amazing. The kids recited their poetry. They were judged on poise, volume, just a number of points, and they did a fantastic job. So that was great. So, and they were placed in first, second, and third positions. And last Wednesday, the youth service day, the elementary went to Wakaika, we went to watch the implementation of the Math in Focus, otherwise known as Centaur Math, that is the original name of it, in operation. I think I mentioned at the last board meeting that they were interested in this. It appears to be a very rigorous program and has the components necessary for helping the kids to be successful in math. And looking now at the program that we have currently, and I was talking to several teachers today, and when we bought it, they thought, hey, this is great. But now that we have the new program that we're comparing it to, there's no comparison. That I talked to Wendy Macy today, and she and Rose Nisbet, and they both indicated that the Math in Focus has a much more rigorous program in place value, which is essential, absolutely essential. So they're very, very pleased with that. It's also aligned to the Common Core, so that's probably most more than likely going to be the recommendation that will be given to the board. And another great feature of it is any teacher can go in and say, for example, third grade working on place value, but maybe they feel like, gee, I don't think they necessarily got this skill at second grade because it seems to be really much more rigorous at the different grade levels. So maybe what real math has at second grade level this year might not be enough for third grade level to have mastery there. So what Crystal, as a third grade teacher, can do is go back just by clicking on the second grade program in her classroom and pull up any reteaching, whatever she needs from the second grade program. So every teacher, K through 5, will have access to every grade level, which is absolutely amazing. That's a new feature. So we're pretty excited about that. And finally, I do want to commend Mr. Lane and Mr. Vaughn on their basketball seasons. The 7th grade finished 9-1, and the 8th grade 3-7. The 7th grade had 10 athletes, and the 8th grade had 6. So the 7th graders were stepping up, helping out with the 8th grade, and they did a great job. It was really fun to watch. So good job. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, gals, come on up. It's time What do you guys want to stand? Wherever you'd like.
Could we stand over?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, because as I click through there, you might want to.
My name is Xiao Qian. I'm the Chinese teacher for kindergarten. And I came to America from last July 23rd, and I'm here as a guest teacher through Polyford, which is an American association that cooperates with Hanban of China to promote Chinese language in America. Before I came here, I worked in Thailand here, 3 years, where I taught Chinese language and culture from 2nd grade to 10th grade. My hometown is here, Hebei province of China, which is in the north part of China. And Lin Laoshi is here, Zhejiang province, south part of China. Lin Laoshi, okay.
Okay. So this is my 5th year of teaching. When I was in Wenzhou Experimental Primary School, I worked there for 9 years, and I would like to share my 10th year here. And this is my main building. This is our main campus. The first year I worked there, and we have 5 different campuses. And this is my campus now. I'd like to show you the picture about that. This is about science. It's very a kind of education innovation about we promote family lab, LAB, in each family. And this about 2 different education that
delegation. We went to our school for visit. So we have the notion about concern about the world, concern about lives. Yes. Here, now I participate in Teachers of Critical Language program, which is sponsored by U.S. government. And here is the number I would like to mention about it. The program told me that 170 Chinese English teachers, they applied for the program, and finally 50 of us, we went to Beijing for interview, and then finally 11 of us came here. Thank you. So that's about Teachers of Critical Language program, and here, yes, the picture here, critical language, U.S. government, they are Chinese teachers and Arabic, Egyptian teachers. They came here to teach Arabic, and we came here to teach Mandarin. And here is the map about where are we now. 11 of us, we separate to different states, and only me here, and I'm doing immersion. And I would like to say that all of them, they are doing language teaching. Yeah, language teaching, only me, I'm doing immersion teaching. Yes, please. So, yeah, I am new to immersion too, and I would like to say I enjoyed it a lot, and I love it. And I really want to learn more about immersion here. And I just want to say two different examples. Compare the students with me here, because I got immersed to English language now, but I'm too old to get new words in my mouth. They can get everything because they are young and they can absorb every word. And in immersion, I want to compare the students here with my students in China. They learn English, but we are not doing immersion. So a very good question, that is, compared to the students learning English without immersion, what's the result after 1 year? I think the key point is that they will have hard time to how to use that language to communicate. I think that's the key point. So immersion here, we are not teaching Chinese, we are not teaching students Chinese. We are teaching math and science using Mandarin. So we would like to say that through immersion program, Mandarin immersion, the kids are learning math and science, and at the same time they are learning Mandarin. Okay, yes, please. And NCO school immersion actually is one of 153 immersion programs, Chinese immersion programs in the United States. And in our school, we are doing 50-50 immersion, which we teach math, science, and culture, which like social study. Also, one of our goals, like students know, to learn the 21st century skills by gaining the global perspective, in their language and culture. Okay, this is our kindergarten immersion. This one is our whole class video. Here is we are doing science class, sink the wood to the water. And here is for they're doing their names, Chinese names, for culture. Here is we learn Thanksgiving in Chinese Mandarin, and we're doing the turkey hide. And here is a picture of after we learn the shapes in math class, we use the shapes to make a house and trees. And here is the video of our class.
梯形、鹰形、橙黄形、三角形、一边形、圆形、长方形。谢谢，再见。
Yeah, next one. Next one is the first grade immersion. Can you just bring the whole picture down? Okay, this picture is about we are doing science, painting, and this is about the clock. We have combined numbers and clock, the time, and this is about students are going to arrange the cards both in measuring and Arabic numbers. And the last one is about we're doing dumplings in the classroom. It's kind of cultural and this video is about we are singing songs about body parts. Please play that. Thank you. Tell us that one. Tell us that one right now. Oh, okay, yeah, we just go. I hope we can play that. And the first one is the classroom teaching about calendar. We are talking about calendar, dates and numbers. Can you try?
I think I can take them off private, if you give me just a second. But you can go back to the Google Drive then, or is it gonna come off of this? I just have to get on YouTube.
That may be where she just has to check the
Is this really nice? It's right.
Sorry about that.
I have a question. Joe, I'm sure Lynn got a chance to talk a little bit about the comparison between her children that she has, the students that she has taught in China and her experience, how quickly the ones here are learning. What is the experience for you from the teacher you did in Thailand?
Oh, that's a good question. Before I came here, I worked in Thailand 3 years, and then I taught them from 2nd grade to 10th grade, only language and culture. Actually, I taught 2nd grade for 1.5 years. It's not immersion. It was not immersion. It's very different, I think. I can tell the students there, they learn language and culture. They not subjects of science or math, you know. And then they only know some, like, can say something, not like reading something. Because they have class like twice a week. Even the 2nd year is 12 times a week, every day, and 1 hour a day, 50 minutes a day, and 12 days a week. They cannot read character. They can only say something, like make an easy conversation with me. So it's very different. Here, I think I taught like for kindergarten. I taught 1.5 years, right? It's like 1.5 years. And then the students here, they can read the books we made, and they can talk about the shapes, you know, the math problems. From conversation, they can talk about easy conversations, but they can understand more than students in Thailand. They can understand me. Yeah, I think that's a very
Thank you. Okay, please. I think so.
Let's try again.
Oh, here we go.
21画，21图画，对了，好，过来个新笔记，3，21号写星期4，温热很好，再好好写，OK，哦，好的，你喜欢橙色，橙色、绿色。
authentic. So every conversation is not based on teaching, like what is that, what is this. We are doing activities and we develop the language, communication skills like that. And this is about, Peter is talking about the family birthdays. Oh.
So what happens at family birthday?
Private. I think maybe that's reminds us that welcome to our classroom. Yeah, any video today we cannot watch. Perhaps it's a good chance for you to welcome you to come and observe our classroom. Yeah, that is Charles going to say. Oh, yeah, and we did 2 different parents' nights because we are so blessed that parents here, they support the immersion program so much. So we did 2 different parents nights so far. One is about please. Thank you. The first one, right, that corner, we are talking about different information, 4 different tones about Mandarin language, and we talk about the basic daily conversation, which could enable parents to have that daily conversation with their children. And here are the pictures about Chinese New Year celebration. And this is a video about the first parent night. I hope it is not private. Oh, here we go.
Okay, that other one's not private anymore.
We could try that.
I think so, I think it's right.
So Kinsley is talking about birthdays of family members. If you would like to observe our class, kindergarten or first grade, just check us through email. Welcome. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, please, shows up here. So just quickly, youth camp report, our enrollment's up about 10 students right now, we have 86. We just had a graduation. Couple pictures from that. Typical at graduations, what we will do is a staff will speak about the student. And up on the top middle there is the other Mr. Smith, he's a new hire for us this year. Beach, actually was one of my former students down there when I was principal at Owaco. I actually changed. I shouldn't have hired him though, because he likes to tell all the old stories of things he did in school. I either did or didn't know about, so it's kind of Mrs. Swanson down in the bottom middle, and Ms. Hunter over at the far right, along with a student and his family. Couple of pictures there. As far as superintendent's report, John's already talked about this a little bit ago. I just kind of like to show a snapshot of monthly enrollment. The fluctuations there are mostly through the virtual school. And so 511, that's the K-12 building and the virtual school, and then you add on 86 camp students. So this time we're very close to 600. The second part is the ASL school video. The multimedia class has been working on some different things, and it's kind of a rough video, but it's just an example of different types of things we're trying to communicate with the board. We have some written reports, some displays like you saw tonight, and then also this one's just a little video of, call it in a nutshell, it's kind of like a day in the life of a student here. See, a little thing is marked right there.
I was surprised. I never fully realized schools of this size even existed. I mean, I had attended a middle school 3 times this size. But things turned out great for me in the end. This school is unique in not only its size, but its staff and its diverse curriculum. Mr. Smith, the school science teacher, immerses kids daily in new and exciting experiences,
Might not want to
such
look at
as
this if it's pain to heart or stomach. Big heart.
He assigns labs that they can work on in groups, giving the students not only knowledge in science, but knowledge in life. Mr. Wise is without a doubt the most popular high school teacher. Teaching math and English for all 4 grades, he will never let a student not understand the curriculum. Without him, many students would be lost. He works all day with a break for lunch, and lunch is very important. nutshell, Nasal Schools is a diverse institution with a variety of experiences waiting to happen. And it's all because of the amazing staff and friends who help us out in the school and community.
So just something a little bit different there. We're going to try to bring a couple different forms. So this next group, I'd like to introduce the Panache. Is it Panache or Panache? Panache. I'm supposed to be younger. Come on. If I can just have the Panache club group come up here. I want to recognize some students. It's been a while since we've had a team from the state. Quite a while. In anything. And so you are going to be our state representatives this year. I'd like to congratulate you personally and on behalf of the staff. And we'll talk a little bit about you at the last meeting. You're doing very well in the districts and your competitions, but you're heading off to the new territory here. I'm going to say a few words in a moment here that I'd like to recognize the following. Chloe Zimmerman.
Doesn't know, we can make him stand up there, right? Well, just a few things. For those of you that aren't familiar with Knowledge Bowl, we have as many as 6 teams each year compete in ESD 113, which means that they compete against upwards of 45, 50 teams from schools like Adna, or not Adna, but Elma, Montesano, Hoquiam, North Beach, Costa, Wishkah, Quinault, South Bend Valley. So at the regular season meets, they compete against 45 to 50 teams. One of the neat things is that this team here placed, or the first place, first among the 1B schools at each of those meets, placing as high as 5th at one, 6th at another, and 10th at a third meet, but first overall among the 1B teams that competed, so that was pretty neat. We had a second team that's called Newton's Hipsters, which consisted of sisters Chloe and Grace Zimmerman and Selah and Shaylin Wolf, and they placed second among the 1B teams at 1 or 2 of the meets and third at the other. So, pretty neat accomplishment. At the regional meet, they competed against a lot of the Central League schools like Adna, Mossy Rock, Napa Vine, some of those teams that you recognize from sports. And at that meet, they were ranked 6th at the end of the regular, rounds. They have 1 written round and 4 oral rounds. And they were ranked 6th overall and 2nd among the 1B schools. And it was actually a 1B team called John Paul II, which is a private Catholic school out of Olympia that beat everybody. But so anyway, a neat accomplishment. These guys get to travel to Arlington on March 22nd to compete in the state meet, and we usually add at least a day to it and convert it also into a college trip. So anyway, looking forward to that. It's been fun. The credit for this truly goes to the kids, their parents, and to the teachers, some of which you saw in that video. So they're the ones that deserve the credit, and so we're looking forward to it. So.
There we go. WIAA we did earlier already, so this time I need reports or items.
So we're on 12 board member reports, future items. Anything from the board?
Oh, I'd like to add one thing maybe to future agenda. We talked about work goals at our workshop. I'd like to get that placed on the agenda.
One set of workshop.
I'm not sure if we can kind of kicked ideas around and eventually get to a workshop.
Anything else?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things. April 15th is a deadline for the PDC report from the board for the elected positions. So just FYI, it's an easy thing. You already filled it out when you filed, but we do have to resubmit. And because it's electronic now, just save a copy, pull out, make any changes and resubmit it. But recommend you just kind of.
That's every April 15th
April 15th.
of every year?
I believe it is, yeah. Yeah.
I usually get an email on it. We usually do it.
I was just thinking about the other day, and I just got on their website, and I saw the date, you know, so I just thought I'd bring it to everybody's attention, because there's been times in the past where board members have not done that, and that prompts a whole host of letters. So, the other thing, I did do class visitations this week, this past week, in both kindergarten and first grade for both the traditional and immersion classes. And I got to meet Tina and Lynn, and thank you for having me. I was not aware that the classes were taught in Chinese immersion. I mean, Mandarin. I didn't, I assumed there'd be a fairly substantial amount of English involved in that class, but it was impressive. And so I learned a lot, and the most important thing I learned is we've got 4 dedicated people. And honestly, you know, I worked in construction for 48 years. The last 8 years is in the private sector, where you had to make the bottom line. And I was exhausted, and I was there for 20 minutes. I do not know how they maintain their poise, presence, and able to teach like they do in a full day. They deserve every penny that they get. It's impressive. And I really recommend the board to take an opportunity to see it on all those classes, because it was pretty cool. With that said, there's, I believe, the grants have been applied for the immersion program. And last year, I believe they were approved in April, but I think you indicated it's a possibility it might be approved sooner than that. Something that this board has not had an opportunity to do is have a conversation with each other and with the community about that program, the strengths, the weaknesses, you know, extending, not extending, whatever. And I think we need to do that. And I would recommend, because I think a lot of the people here are part of that program, very committed to that program and children education. I don't see that as just an agenda item at a regular board meeting. I would recommend that we have a special board meeting for that particular issue, allow everyone to come and speak, put everything on the table, let's talk about it, and then at the next regular board meeting, the action item would occur, you know, and all the facts would be known at that point. So, you know, with that said, one, I'd like to know if that's an interest of the board, and 2, if it is, if there are dates that might work that we could possibly do that.
Excuse me if I may just ask a question. My understanding is that this program was voted on unanimously about 7 months ago. So would it perhaps be a better format to be a community meeting as opposed to a board meeting, because it was approved? And I understand that in the event that there was some trouble with the program or we were having some issues, that it perhaps would come up for reevaluation in such a short time period. However, given that that's not the case, we should respect the old board's approval, correct?
Well, I don't know if you want to get into the politics of why I'm on the board, but I think that's an issue. And I see this truly as a board issue. I honestly, you know, I go to a lot of public meetings. I go to the, I'm involved in Fish and Wildlife. I'm on the local day advisory group. I've testified at commission meetings. They do not take any action on an active item at that meeting. They hold a previous meeting
I
to
appreciate that what you're
receive
saying.
the input from the
I'm
community.
saying the board voted on it. And so when you say active item, that implies, I mean, there's children in this program.
I understand
Parents
that.
in the program, we have teachers here.
I understand that.
So is this something we're going to review monthly, at least every 6 months?
I can't answer that. That's,
He's merely wanting the opportunity for the new board to
But then that's an
basically
education
get up to
session
speed.
perhaps as opposed to a vote.
I'm sorry you interrupted me. Go ahead now.
Well, I'm saying then, I just want to be particular about whether it's just a community meeting, which I absolutely embrace. I think there is obviously a very significant knowledge gap in our community right now as it pertains to this program. A lot of people putting a lot of effort into moving it forward, and I think it would be extremely helpful for the whole community to have an open discussion. My question is just, is that a board meeting format, or is that a community meeting?
Well, first of all, if the board's going to call any kind of a meeting, it has to be a board meeting in public. It has to be advertised as a board meeting for all of us to be there. If it's a community meeting, we can attend that, but that would just be a community meeting, not ran by the board. I think what Mr. Gaffney is suggesting is an opportunity to look at the whole program as a whole, where it's going moving forward, facilities-wise, financially. I mean, I think it's probably, I'm not going to speak for Steve, I think he's probably thinking it's probably not a good idea to move blindly forward into this without actually having a plan in place. So I don't think anybody would argue that point, correct? Whether, if you want it to be successful, obviously you need a plan in place to make that happen. I can see it being facility impact, financial impact, how are we handling those things? I think this board has the right to get a grip on that. In fact, I know this board has the right to get a grip on that. So that's pretty much where that stands. So actually the question is, do we want to set a meeting date now, or do you have any thoughts on that, Steve?
well, I've had interaction with Lisa. I know she had some conflicts. And Chuck and I didn't think he was going to be part of this particular aspect of the meeting, and so I spoke to him. But, you know, I think it'd be important to have it sooner rather than later. I think our next board meeting is March 18th. But I want to give everyone an opportunity to be prepared for the meeting. You know, look into resources, talk to folks, or prepare whatever they need to do for whatever they may want to present. So, you know, I'm open. There's a couple of dates that appear to fit. One of them is quite soon, that'd be the 26th of February. Another one is either the 3rd or the 4th of March. But I do have a meeting in Olympia. It ends supposed to end at 3 o'clock on that night, so I probably could make that night.
Which night was that, Steve?
March 3rd. I think that's a Monday. And then the 4th. And then I believe there's maybe some days the next week, 3 or 4, that, and Josh, you and I haven't talked about this, so I don't know what might fit your schedule. But, you know, I guess, you know, first of all, the first question is this something the board sees as something we should do? And
Yeah, I think we need to have that discussion.
it's fine with me. I mean, all we have to do is come up with a date. Because in reality, you know, when this was approved, it was approved on a, and somebody I'm sure is going to correct me here, but a 1-year trial. Now, everybody moved forward with a 2-year, but it was made very clear by the board that it was going to be a 1-year trial. And I think that probably most of the people that were here remember that. Like I said, so therefore, it's very important for this board to move forward with this with a plan, rather than sort of stumbling through it and hoping that it works. I think that any program that you're trying to move forward with, you definitely need a plan and a projection moving forward. If you don't, it's going to fail. Or you're just going to stumble along and it might not do as well as it could. Now, obviously, there's many things to look at as far as financially, how is that going to be supported? How is that, as it moves through it, there's going to need to be more teachers. Is it going to create a facilities need too? Where do we want this to go? Do we want to just keep it within our own district? Do we want it to be bigger than that? If it's bigger than that, obviously it creates a facilities issue. We only have so much room. There's a lot of things to talk about. So I think it's very wise to get together and figure this out before we have any more issues that would either cause it to fail or maybe do something right now to make it improve, right? And I think that's the intent. Yes?
I think you're all making an excellent point about the program. I don't quite recall the trial period portion of that decision, but that's neither here nor there. The important part is that we do need a plan to move forward. And I think what you're feeling from some of the folks in the audience here is just this concern because we've invested so much in starting the program. It's worked so well for those of us that had kids in the program, and we get very protective about it because there has been talk about, you know, essentially making a big change because the board has changed. So we feel like with all this effort, all this good work that's been put into building what really is, you know, kind of a one-of-a-kind program that really makes Excel stand out. And so we're very protective about it. However, I think you're absolutely correct. I mean, there's got to be a lot of planning put into figuring out how to move forward with the program. And maybe what I'd offer is that some kind of workshop would be appropriate where you actually solicit input from the entire community, but also the folks that have been involved in helping to build the program about which way to take it and what's important, maybe what's not important.
Well, it's a very good point. Now, there's many things that this board needs to take into consideration. It's not just the people that are in this room that are involved. There's a whole community here that has to be taken into account. All right? That's very obvious because everybody in this room can love it to death. But when it comes time to pass a levy, then we're going to know really how we're doing with the community. So if we don't communicate to this community and have them jump on the bandwagon, we have a serious problem. If we ever want to improve our facilities and pass a bond, if we're not doing the right things in this community, we're going to pay for it. We can't improve our facilities unless we have everybody on board. So my thinking would be that anybody that wants to make this successful had better bring some recommendations to the board to make this sustainable. How are we going to do this? I think this board's very open for input. And that's why it's a very good idea, I believe, a very good suggestion by Steve to get together and figure this out before it's too late and we're stumbling through it again. Remember, this was started with not very much input. The board basically had no input. Okay, and it was postponed for a year. We were supposed to get recommendations to the board. We got some, but if I remember right, it wasn't really what we were hoping for. So if we're going to move forward, I would say that we need to do it properly. Anything else from the board as Superintendent, anybody?
Just in the effort of time, clarity on what type of information you're looking for and what kind of meeting it is, because that dictates posting requirements. It's a community meeting, it's a community meeting, if it's a board meeting, there's special posting requirements that have to be met. And I would recommend it be a board meeting then so we can get it officially posted and have minutes and that.
Thoughts on the types of information that we need from the board?
Well, I don't know about the types, but I think it's important we get as many people there that have an interest one way or the other in this program. I encourage everyone to come, and I think it needs to be interactive, not, rigid. And I understand there's going to be passion. I understand that, but I think we need to accept that and utilize all that information before this board is required to then make a decision whether or not the program is, whether we approve those grants. That's our obligation to do that. I think we'd be shirking our responsibilities if we didn't seek that input. So I would like to see a very interactive, not necessarily structured from the standpoint, you got to sign your name, but I think it'd be important that people do identify themselves, so we could have maybe some feedback, maybe a two-way communication afterwards if a board member, community member needs a dialogue on it, and certainly allow all the time the community needs to comment, maybe allow a segment of the meeting for the board to simply maybe process and state their own positions or ask their own questions, and maybe some summary, and then I do not see that as a decision night. It should not be an action item. It should be simply for discussion and.
Because we won't know about the grants by then.
No, we won't. No, we won't. So.
So possible dates, you want to do this soon, or would you like to take a little bit of time? What's our timeline on grants?
March.
End of March?
Yes, we should, we'll be getting feedback from the State Department if we're finalists, probably beginning of March, but then there's a cycle for phone interviews.
So, we could probably even get it done before the end of the month, couldn't we? End of this month, possibly?
Yeah, I'm in the process of asking a lot of questions now. I've had some discussions with Lisa, trying to get some information I haven't assembled. And that's one part of the discussion. I just want to put it out there for people's comments. So when they come, it's not brand new, and when you go home, you say, gee, I wish I would have asked that or thought of that. So I kind of see that I like part of that discussion to happen before we even have a meeting. Some of that information available, rather than hit people cold and then we don't have an additional meeting or whatever.
I think that, everybody needs to understand that when we're watching this video, everybody gets it. It's a great thing, okay? These kids are learning this. Everybody agrees with that, I believe, in this room. I don't think there's anybody here that doesn't agree with that. The thing is when you sit here, you have to look at it from a point of view of what's best for the district. It doesn't mean we're attacking the Chinese program in any way. It means that as a board, we have to figure out, we need input, we need to figure out if it's sustainable. And if it is, how do we move forward through that? And I believe that's probably a very good plan to go with. So, is there dates that we can get this done?
I think there's three that I know for sure. I think there's a consensus maybe that it might work. That's 26th of February, 3rd and 4th of March. Then I think there's 3 days in the next week of March that might work. So, but then the board meeting is that next Tuesday.
Yes.
So, and that might be putting it up against the wall too close to allow people to maybe process some information or, check some things out, so.
Well, I think sooner than later, we'd probably be, Josh should have better.
Those days
February, that's,
Is the board looking for ways to sustain the project into the future? So if you are looking for those, then in order for us to come up with solutions as parents, we kind of need to see some figures on that, some numbers, so that then we can run scenarios that might be able to figure out a way to make that sustainable. And the other thing, personal request, right? I'm an executive director for the Port of Astoria. We have board meetings on Tuesdays as well. So if there's any possible way we could avoid Tuesdays, I would appreciate it.
Out this time.
Our concern is that it can come into kind of a mess where people are trying to sell the program to you. And as you said, you can see everybody's touched by the program, they think it's wonderful. And so I don't really see the point of that meeting being a sales pitch, hey, here's why we should continue the program. It's more of how do we continue the program as opposed to why. I mean, why is obvious. So that's, I guess, if I'm encouraging people to come here and be participating, it's come with ideas about how to make it sustainable. Not coming here and saying, Lord, you have to be convinced that this is a good thing. Because I think they can see that with their own eyes.
So if we get 10 years down the road from now, and it's costing the district $250,000 to run this program, we need to figure out how that's going to happen. We cannot go 1 year at a time and hope that it's going to work.
Absolutely. You have to have
And I think John probably could have some projection for us on, and I'm sure Lisa can too, as far as how many teachers we're going to need, what that's going to cost us. Yes?
I was just wondering if Lisa and maybe Mrs. Workla can share what their opinion is, if this is something that they think is possible with, how what their feeling is about it, if it's something that's sustainable, is there room? I just want to know maybe, they're the ones that are out here every day with our kids. I just would like to know their opinion.
Yeah, and I think, and that's fine, I mean, you can give your opinion, but I think it would be probably good to have a meeting just for that. We can talk about it a little bit more. I mean, obviously, they can give your opinion right now if they'd like to. It doesn't matter to me, but I run a business. I can't run a business 1 year at a time. I've got to project down the road or I'm going to be in trouble. And I think that it's just the same thing with running any kind of a program. We need to look forward. What's it going to look like 8, 10 years from now? If it's actually going to, is it going to cause a facilities issue? And if it does, how do we address that? We don't even have a facilities committee right now to be working on that type of stuff. I think I've asked, I don't know how many times, do we not need to get a facilities committee going? I think we do. Yeah. We could ask for volunteers for a facilities committee. Board needs committees to make recommendations. Very smart to get your people involved to make recommendations to us. So, anything else on this? I think that the 26th works for me. I mean,
That sounds like it might be a little tight for Josh.
a little tight, okay?
How about the 3rd?
Okay.
The 4th is a Tuesday, he wouldn't be able to make it, so if we did it on the 3rd.
4th of March, does that sound pretty good? 3rd?
3rd, Monday.
Oh, Monday, I'm sorry.
I think it's Monday.
The other way around.
Monday,
Sorry.
is the 3rd, yep.
Okay, so we're thinking the 3rd.
6:30.
Later the better.
Midnight?
Well, I got a 2-hour drive from Olympia, so I don't want to miss a meeting.
Yeah.
So, 6:30 would be optimal
6:30.
for me.
I think we'll just stay with a regular time, 6:30. I think it's important to have information about what this looks like, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years as far as teaching needs, and how many teachers are we going to need? Now, isn't there something in legislation right now about pilot program or something like that? Did I hear something like that? We won't know anything about that for
They
a while.
talked about applications being due in May, but
Okay, so because we've already started, we're not eligible for a pilot program now, where we are. So,
That's if the legislation passes, that's a pretty quick turnaround application by May, so just don't know. It'll be approved by the
so
legislature.
put that on your calendars, right? March 3rd, 6:30. We'll be here and we'll have a nice little chat about this. Remember, we don't need to be defensive here. Everybody understands that this is a great program. We just have to make it work if it's going to continue. You know, and when you're sitting up here, it's got to work for the whole school, not just this group. It doesn't do a bit just to satisfy this group and have everybody else, you know, the next meeting mad at us, right? So we need to be able to make it work with the community and with everyone. Okay, anyone else, anything else we got? Any other board agendas or board reports, agenda items? Yeah, I don't know if we'll be able to tackle that that same night though, right?
But I think just,
Yeah,
So you just want to get it in place.
yeah.
for a workshop, work on our goals and our facility thing. Yeah. Okay, so we need to figure out a date for a board workshop then, beyond the Chinese meeting. Any ideas? Want to move that into like,
Can we actually schedule it out of our other meetings and have that as an agenda item to schedule the next?
As long as you've got it shown as an agenda item.
Yeah. Right,
The same day or
workshop.
schedule a workshop, all we have to do is post.
right,
But I mean, if we don't have the dates now, by the time we go around to March 3rd, we'll probably,
Why don't we pick a date?
because you're going to be going.
we'll be gone 6 through the 10th.
Well,
March 12th, board workshop. Josh? How about Chuck?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
March 12th, board workshop.
start evening or Josh evening?
How early can you go?
5:36.
6 o'clock, does that work for the board? Chuck?
Sure.
6 o'clock, okay.
Well, thanks, that's what you said.
12. 12, that's 6. Anything else? Everybody happy? Okay, I would entertain a motion to adjourn then.
Also move.
Second. Been moved and second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.
How's it going?
Yes, sir.
This is Kendall.